Welcome to the Clear the Shelf podcast with Chris and Chris, the show that meets at the intersection of education and entertainment to discuss online arbitrage, retail arbitrage, wholesale, and all facets of selling on Amazon. We'll bring you news, tactics, strategies, insights, stories, and interviews to help you grow your Amazon business. And now, here are your hosts, Chris Grant and Chris Rasick. What is going on, and welcome back to the Clear the Shelf podcast with Chris and Chris. As always, my sagacious co-host Chris Rasick is here, and this week we will be interviewing Makayla, or as you might know her a little bit better on the Instagram, at FBAMakayla. We're going to be chopping it up a little bit about online arbitrage, and we've got a ton of questions lined up for her as the inaugural female guest on the Clear the Shelf podcast, which we appreciate. And we have even crowdsourced some questions from Instagram, which I think should be pretty good. So, Makayla, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you taking the time. And hopefully you can put up with us for the next hour or so.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Now, before we get into the show, we always like to talk a little bit about some news that's going on. And there was some news dropped by Amazon this week that I'm surprised it took this long. So due to an increase in customer complaints related to meltable products, Amazon's going to implement new multiple product shipping policy effective September the 21st for multiple seller fulfilled products. And they said that the shipping policy is designed to protect the customer experience, of course, by ensuring heat sensitive products, including but not limited to things like chocolate, gummies, some jelly products, some wax-based products are received in an unmelted state by the customer. Now, which I think is something that everyone should just know. We've talked about shipping with ice packs and all that kind of stuff. But when this policy goes into effect in 2 weeks from right now when we're recording this, if you receive multiple melted product complaints, Amazon did say that they may either remove your offer and they may suspend or deactivate your Amazon selling account. So, and any related accounts, they put in parentheses. So this is not something that you want to play with lightly, in my opinion. I will be honest, I'm probably just not going to merchant fulfill anything multiple because even if it comes in perfect condition, who knows if somebody's like, oh, this was melted and I don't like it, or if the chocolate blooms or something like that, you could have all kinds of issues. So make sure if you are doing merchant fulfilled, or if you're in a state like I am where it's hot as all get out, all the time, that you're being very, very careful so you don't get your Amazon account suspended. Is this going to change? Do you guys do any merchant fulfilling of meltable products at all?
Yeah, I just bought like 100 units of a meltable item right before they.
Man. Is this going to change how you handle meltable products being shipped?
It's honestly not like it's a granola bar, so like it's not like, you know what I mean? It's not like actual like chocolate like sitting in a bag or anything. So like I'm not like, but like other multiple stuff, like yeah, obviously I'm gonna be a little bit more cautious about it now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, see, that's the one thing that is kind of funky. Like if it's a granola bar and it's got that chocolate drizzle on it, is that really going to be a big deal? It'll be interesting to see, who complains about what. Hopefully they give a wide berth on how many complaints you can get. Would have been nice to be like, hey, 5 complaints and you're out. But of course they're not going to tell us that. So, right. All right. So that's it. Let's dive into the show. So Makayla, let's start from the very beginning. Like, what got you into Amazon? What's your backstory? How long have you been doing it? Just your whole story. We'll take it.
So I actually got started like reselling it's been almost a year now. So I started reselling consoles back when like Xboxes and PlayStations and GPUs and all that stuff, was hot. And then I opened up my eBay store, I believe it was in October. And then I did some toys for quarter 4, and then the market kind of crashed on, the consoles and the GPUs, and I was getting tired of botting stuff. I just hated it. It's just too much. And then one of my mentors that was teaching me, the ropes about Amazon, about eBay, he was like, "Hey, I sell on Amazon. Like, I'm selling some toys on there and stuff." And I looked at it and everything, and I was like checking it out, and I saw that I was gated in literally everything. And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is for me." And then, and so like I let it go. And then a couple months later, I was given the opportunity to join like a small mentoring program. And that's whenever I got introduced to Amazon again. And I was like, okay. And then, so it's been 6 months now.
Nice. That's awesome. Um, so have how let me ask this, how much have you manually ungated, like done the hard work with invoices, and how much has become ungated automatically as your sales have grown?
So from like the beginning, obviously, like that's the big thing that you have to do, because that's just everybody's has stuff that has to be ungated. So I got a lot of the toys already done before I started selling a whole bunch of stuff. And then I got like grocery, beauty, the main categories done. And then now, like, I've noticed, like, if I want to get something ungated, it's usually auto ungated.
Awesome. That's awesome. Very cool. Yeah.
So, Makayla, I've seen some of your Instagram posts, and I think you got a real nice throne of boxes, right, that you're sitting on. That's that's pretty impressive. So now knowing that you're about 6 months full speed ahead into this, what were some of the obstacles that you overcome scaling up to this size, and how did you overcome them?
So definitely capital was like my main issue. Obviously, like I graduated in 2020. I didn't have, a real job at the time because I was having surgeries and I was planning on going to medical school. And so I was, didn't have a job, so I didn't have a credit score, didn't have anything really in my name other than my student loan. So I had to get, a bunch of student credit cards on my personal, obviously. And then so I started with like a $1,500 limit on Discover student card, worked my way up to, probably 5 other ones. And, obviously I only had maybe $10,000 combined, like on all these cards. So when I started scaling, I was like, okay, like you got to be more resourceful and stuff. So I kept, kept all of the money from my business, and I kept putting it back into the business, because like I knew that if I took any money out, that meant obviously less money that I'd have in there for that business. So I just paid for my student loans, and that was it. I kept recycling my money back. And then eventually I ended up getting a business credit card. And then that's kind of when a lot changed from there. But like people always say, you started with a whole bunch of money, like this is easy for you and all this stuff. And like, honestly, I really didn't start with a whole bunch of, I started with a bunch of personal student cards. Like the maximum that I had on one was like 25, no, it was 2000. Like, you can't, honestly, if you want to buy a bunch of stuff, like you can't buy a bunch of like $2,000 cards. So so
Right.
capital was definitely like my biggest obstacle. And now that I've done a bunch of FBM, and that's kind of why I decided to do a whole bunch of FBM along with just it being this season for it, back to school. And that's honestly like changed my business like so much. Like I don't think people really understand how much, like if you do FBM and you do it the right way, like how much it can actually change.
Yeah, absolutely. That's that was a theme with when we talked to Joseph too. It was the quick turnover, which is yeah, it seems like the essential way to scale at any kind of pace. So that's interesting. So obviously the capital, that's one of the main obstacles that you hear from beginners, and the ungating process. Those are probably the two biggest. Wouldn't you agree, Chris? Those are really popular obstacles that you hear from beginners.
Yeah, I would say that's probably more than anything. So I have a question about you doing FBM. How long are they holding your funds after an order is delivered on your account?
Isn't it 10? Isn't it the standard 10 days after the
Is
delivery?
is it? I I'm a little.
That's what,
I've got some. I've got some old timer privilege, and so when I merchant fulfill, so I merchant fulfilled just one product today. Most of my stuff is FBA, but I merchant fulfilled one product today, and so the minute that I print out the shipping label for me, I'm paid. Um,
Not
and
bad.
so,
So the 14.
uh, so I always forget it. So it's like 7 to 10 days for you.
At least 10. I'm pretty sure it's 10 at least for me.
Okay, okay.
Maybe it's
I
better
do.
than 4 weeks or 6 weeks. So I guess
Oh yeah,
can't complain.
and I do think that'll get a little bit faster over time. Uh, so since since you've come over those obstacles, what during your growth process, what has not worked? Like what did you try that, failed and you had to pivot, or has anything not gone your way quite yet?
Mm, I think like sourcing certain like categories and like not finding like my niche, like something that I was really good at sourcing and kind of focusing on those categories. Like I tried, like toys, for example, not during quarter 4, obviously, but just in general. And I just was running around in circles and circles and circles. So it's like, I think I'm going to hold off for that for a little bit. But I honestly think like the biggest thing is kind of finding like a category that you either like, you have knowledge on, something that you would rather spend, looking at maybe 6 hours a day, and you don't want to like gouge your eyes out as much. I mean, you're still going to probably, but like not as much. Like find something that you actually enjoy. So, I found my niche now, and I'm really good at it now. And the toys, like finding it was bad.
I'm
I don't know how people do
I'm
this.
I know. I'm glad to hear another person say that because I know a ton of people love toys. Uh, I made the mistake. I have 3 toy SKUs right now. One of them I've pulled all of them because I didn't want to waste the time trying to get a CPC, and the other 2 I'm liquidating because they need CPCs, and I don't want to deal with that anymore. So I'm back out. Uh, that's good.
I got a CPC as soon as I finished the batch. Like I didn't even have it packed in a box yet,
Yeah.
and I got a CPC request, so that's fun. All right, so and I know you said you found your niche, and maybe this is the answer to this question, but without giving too much away, what would you say is working the best for you now, and is that something you're looking to double down on or amplify moving forward?
Yeah, so I'm in like the clothing category, apparel, clothing, shoes. So that's just something I'm really good at. Like I could sit down and in 2 hours I could find tons of leads. But if I would like say, for example, if I look at toys, like I'm lucky if I find like a couple in that time period. So like definitely gonna double down on that, plan is for quarter 4, double down on what I already have because, in quarter 4, pretty much everything that's, good is going to sell even better. Do that and then obviously add in some toys. I'm gonna try again. We're gonna try it again.
So it sounds like what's your are you 100% OA or what's your OA to RA mix?
I don't do any RA, so I do about 90 10 to 90% OA, about 10%. It's probably going to be closer to 25% wholesale, and then I'm just getting ready to launch my private label product in the next like 2 or 3 months.
Oh, great.
Nice. That's
Very
awesome.
nice.
Did I see that you got samples or something already delivered?
Yes.
I thought I saw that somewhere. That's
I just
awesome.
get so excited about that.
Yeah,
I
that's awesome.
took it to physical therapy because I don't really go anywhere else other than physical therapy, and then obviously work on Amazon stuff really. And so I took them, and I took both of them, and I had everybody, and they're like telling me what they liked, what they didn't like, and everybody kind of had their own utilization for it. They're like, oh, I would use it for this, or I would use it for that. And I was like, I didn't even think about that. So like, it was really helpful. If you're going to do private label, I definitely recommend like bringing more eyes on it and being like, okay, like showing it to like whatever target population or just in general, other people.
Is it, and of course, I don't want you to tell us exactly what it is, but is it, I take it it's something that physical therapists,
No,
would
no, I
use?
don't know that. No,
No?
it's in home actually.
Oh, okay.
I mean, so it's something that more people can use, but everybody asks me that. I'm like, no, it's just because like I don't like to go anywhere else really. So I'm like, I have to bring it there because everybody, you know what I mean? Like there's multiple types of people there, like, different ages. And so, yeah.
That's awesome. So I have a question about like clothing and shoes. What's your turn rate like on clothing and shoes? I guess so. Some people who get into clothing and shoes, they complain about how slowly things turn over. And I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about like one, how fast your inventory turns, and I guess maybe what things you look for when you're sourcing to make sure that you're not going to be holding on to inventory too long.
Yeah, so like I don't do a whole lot of shoes, so that part like maybe that's a little bit different. But for like the clothing and apparel side that I've been doing, like I usually sell out within like 2 weeks. And I don't like buy 5 units or anything. I'm buying like 50, 100, depending on what kind. I mean, obviously you could sell like 100 plus a day if you're going to get the buy box and stuff. So I just focus on stuff under 50,000 BSR, things that sell at least 100 units a month. A lot of like my best sellers are selling, thousands of units a month, and the BSRs are under like 10K. I think my average is like 32-ish amongst my inventory. But like when I buy, I try to buy for the month. But like once you kind of get down to that low BSR, sometimes you just don't have the pockets or there's not enough stock, obviously, that you can buy to kind of keep in stock for that long. But I think like right now I'm averaging about um, 13 or 14 turns for the year if I'm on the same
That's
track.
killer. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's great.
Yeah. What's your return rate like?
So when I first started selling, I wasn't selling any apparel clothing or anything because everyone said, "Oh, the return rates are so bad," like they scared you off from it and everything. And I don't know if that was deliberate or not. But I did do it for like the first 4 months of me selling, and then I started selling it a couple months ago. And I think I started at like about 3.5%, and then it grew to probably the highest it's been is like 6.5. So I mean, it's honestly not like horrible. I mean, I've heard of
Oh,
people being at least like 10%. So I'm like, I kind of the way that I do things, I kind of do a higher return rate. So like clothing and apparel, obviously, and then I like to do beauty as well. So then it kind of averages my returns out.
yeah, very good. And so I don't do a lot of shoes and clothing, so this is kind of for my own education too. But on the shoes and clothing, how do you, um, I guess, what things are you looking at when you're looking at variations, and what keeps you from buying something, and what makes you pull the trigger?
So definitely look at the variations tab because that's like the one of the most important if you're going to do variations. And people always say like variations are so hard, whatever. But like if you just try and you can just kind of look at the data and let the data lead you. Most of the time, you're going to be okay. I just got to try and trust the data. So when I'm looking at the variations, I'm obviously ranking it by the most to the least, and then like I don't have like a specific thing. So some people are like, if it's not the top one, then I'm not buying. Like if it's not the top one, then I'm not buying it, or the top three, or the top five. And honestly, depends. Like if you can get like a 1K BSR item that has say for instance 20 variations, and it's selling, maybe 5,000 units a month, like the top three are going to be good. And the top five are probably going to be good as well. And you may find, six, seven, eight are also good. Like there's not like a one size fits all thing. Like I don't just go like top three. No, because like like I've noticed a lot, like the top one specifically usually is the one that has the most people on it because of that reason. So if you kind of like look below the top one, do like 2, 3 to 5, then generally they're not as populated because people kind of like they see that and they're like, if it's not the top one, then I don't really want it. But if you go in and look, you can see, a rough estimate under the offers tab, obviously, and kind of see what it's been selling in the last 30 days, but it doesn't obviously show out of stock people, but kind of gives you a rough estimate and you can use calculations to figure out how much that variation is selling or whatever. But some people are just
Perfect.
like, yeah, if it's not number one, then I don't want it. So I take advantage of obviously of all those other ones.
That's great.
Nice.
And do you mind if I ask, like, what's the minimum profit and ROI requirements that you do on clothing?
So it depends on like everything I say is black and white. It's not black and white, it's gray. So
Yeah.
depends on the listing, obviously. Like for instance, 100K BSR versus 1K BSR. You say you're selling 30 a month with the 100K, and maybe you're selling 2,000 a month for the one. You know, $2 profit for if you're selling say 100 a month compared to maybe 5 a month. That's like a big difference. So if I can, pump out the volume on $2, $2.50, whatever, $3 profit, I mean, then that's going to be like some of my best sellers I only make like $3 off of, but I'm selling, 500 a month. So
Okay. And the only reason I ask is because most of the shoe and clothing sellers that I talk to, we'll call them legacy Amazon sellers. They've been around for a long time, and so they'll have rules like, if I can't make $10 and say 25% or 40% ROI, I'm not going to buy it. And I mean, they're not doing bad. They're doing 8 figures a year, so
yeah,
they're not hurting. But their rules are a little bit more, much larger ROI requirements and stuff like
yeah.
that. So
There's some people
I'm
that
always
like,
curious.
but I always take advantage of the people that don't want to take the scraps, I guess is what you'd call it. Like, I make good money off. Like I said, some of my best sellers I'm making $3 profit on, but I'm selling, hundreds of them a month. So, it all
Oh yeah,
makes sense for me at least.
yeah. I'll take volume all day like that. All right. So changing gears a little bit, what's something about selling on Amazon or in your business that maybe you didn't expect?
The community. It's not even like
Oh,
that's like selling on Amazon exactly, but like the community itself, like I didn't realize how big it was and like how helpful people are and how like genuine most of the people are on, the space. I mean, like I've met so many different kinds of people like from different backgrounds and like it's just awesome to connect with other people because like I don't know anybody. I grew up in a small town. Like most people don't even know that you can even sell on Amazon. Like they think that you buy on Amazon and it comes from Amazon itself. Like Amazon is the one who's selling it. So like and I did too. I honestly had no idea. So I don't know anybody in real life, I guess I should call it. So just meeting obviously other people and just growing with those people. Like if I honestly don't think I would have grown as fast if I didn't meet the people that I have along my journey.
nice. What's been I take it Instagram has been the best place for you to network with people?
Yeah, so I originally started out on Discord, and then, like, I always tell the story about they always tell you, in Miles's, roadmap, he always talks about, like, networking and getting in a mastermind and everything, and then finally one day, I think I was, like, selling about 30,000 a month, and I was kinda like, "Yeah, I'm getting kinda bored, like, by myself, like, I wanna kinda network with other people, but, I don't know how to do it," and somebody made a post and asking, for people on the East Coast, and I was like, hey, I think I'm gonna message him and see if, he let me in there. And now like the three of them, like they're like my original mastermind group and we've grown so much. So like it definitely changed. Like if I didn't, get the courage to actually, reach out to him and he's like, hey, we're gonna be on Instagram. Like, do you have an Instagram? I'm like, I have a personal Instagram, but I don't have like an FBA. Like, I'm like, am I, big enough to like do this? Like, you know what I mean? I'm only selling 30,000 a month. And he's like, dude, just do it. So yeah, definitely. That definitely propelled me forward for sure.
That's awesome.
Nice. So what does a typical day look like for you as far as like your in the ins and outs of getting through a work day?
So usually I get up around 6 or 6:30. I don't know why. I just started doing that, and I just feel like I just do a lot more and more productive in the morning. So usually I get up. I just started training some VAs, so I'm talking to them because they're 12 hours ahead of me. Talk to them. Then I usually do my FBM orders in the morning, and then that usually takes me about an hour or two, depending on how many I have. Then usually I'm going either to physical therapy or I'm doing consulting calls with other students, and then usually take a nap, like a power nap, halfway throughout the day. And then I'm doing sourcing usually or prepping. I'm trying to get out of prepping within the next month, but prepping, and then by the time night comes, they're back online again on VAs, so I'm talking to them again. And then the cycle just keeps repeating. A lot of calls lately, so it's been taking up majority of my time.
Nice. Now you mentioned you're talking to VAs, and then you mentioned something about maybe winding down your prep. So it sounds like let's talk about outsourcing a little bit. What parts of your business are you looking to outsource or have recently outsourced, and what moving forward is there anything else you're looking to take off your own hands?
So I just got a prep center about a couple months ago for the like I did all my prep all the way up until then. It was like 60,000 a month. It was getting kind of crazy. So I did a little bit of that and then did FBM. So I've been doing a lot, prepping here. But I'm hoping within like the next month or so, it was supposed to be like within like the next few weeks. But now that I'm doing more wholesale, I'm having some of it sent here until I kind of solidify where I'm wanting to send my wholesale stuff. And then, so yeah, like I'm going to outsource pretty much all of that other than my FBM. And then during Christmas, obviously, I'm going to start doing a lot more FBM. And then, like I said, I'm training a few VAs for wholesale. I'm hoping to like transition more into wholesale. I'm not going to like quit OA, but like, I want to do other things outside of just doing Amazon. You know what I mean? Like there's other ventures that I would like to get into. And then like, obviously I'm doing the coaching calls, like I said, and like, I like doing those. So, I need a little bit of my own, my own time too. So outsourcing definitely, and having people help me, obviously source and stuff, but I'm still going to do all of my OA myself, but I'm going to have a few people, help me with my wholesale. And then obviously with my private label, whenever that time comes.
Hey guys, wanted to take a quick second and thank you for listening to the Clear the Shelf podcast. My magnanimous co-host Chris Rasick has put together a gift for you for being a listener. It's called the Monthly Goal Tracking Spreadsheet, and it's free. The spreadsheet will help you break down and track how much you've purchased, which should be a leading indicator of how much you will sell, and then you'll be able to track how much you've sold as well as your estimated monthly profit on a daily basis. This will all feed into the daily averages so you can ensure that you're on track to meet your goals each and every month. Grab it for free today over at cleartheshelf.com/goal-tracking. Thanks again for being a listener. Now back to the show.
What's been some of the most important growth levers in your business? Like what's been the key to growth for you?
Confidence. Like that's like probably the main difference. And I tell that to people, like, is it the main difference, in my opinion, between like a 10K seller and a 100K seller is confidence, other than like capital. Obviously, if you don't have capital, then like that. But like the main like, the thing aside from capital is just being confident and being able to like, so like when I first started, I was doing like test orders of like 1 to 5 and people are like, wow, that's crazy. But I was super conservative about stuff. I wanted to make sure I wasn't spending my money on, stupid buys. Like, and it worked out really well for me. And then, so now obviously I'm not doing that. I'm doing like 20. And then when I'm replanning my stuff, I'm spending a lot more money, I'm, buying maybe 50, 100, 150 of them. So like just confidence and to really just trusting that, like, I know what I'm doing. So that's definitely been like the main push for me.
Nice. So how did you gain the confidence? Because they're obviously not just, you have to be sure about your buying parameters and when you're searching and whatnot. But then, if you're buying that kind of volume and you even bumped up your test orders to 20 or so, you have to have a kind of a sophisticated tracking system. How do you keep tabs on all that?
So definitely the main thing for like the confidence was just like trusting that I know what I'm doing. Like I've been researching for months and months and months, and then kind of like the networking, like meeting other individuals who are selling, and they're like, yeah, like for instance, like back in June, I started buying back to school stuff, and I was talking to Miles, and we were talking about backpacks one day, and he's like, yeah, like go buy the backpacks, like, you're going to do really well. And I'm like, okay. And I like texted him, I'm like, hey, is 100 backpacks too many backpacks? Like, cause like I didn't like, the most I've ever bought at that point was maybe 25 things. So I was like, oh, like I'm sitting here like shaking. I'm like, am I buying too many? And then I end up selling like 1,000 backpacks this summer. Like obviously just kind of having that nudge, but for like tracking and stuff, I do everything through my Google Sheet. It's horrible. Like I need to get like an actual software to like help me out, but like just sometimes I forget about replens too, and I'm like, oh man, like, I did buy that. Like that just happened actually a couple of days ago where I found like I was like, hey, I didn't buy that. Like, definitely need to get a better tracking system.
That's the worst, forgetting about a replen. It's like, hey, there's money sitting over here in the corner of the room. You're not looking at it, So what's something that people misunderstand about selling on Amazon and online arbitrage in general, in your opinion?
That's passive income. That's like my biggest pet peeve that I hear from people. Like, passive income. Like they think I just day in and day out, I just sit here on my chair, on my couch, just chilling, like not spending much time doing it. I'm like, no, like literally I was spending, at least 6 hours. Start like in June, especially like that's when I kind of went from, like 60 to over 100,000 in sales. And I put a lot of work into it. And then people just think, oh, she just, like I just click on Walmart.com. I just order a few things, takes me 30 minutes. And then I just go do whatever I feel like doing. Like, it's a lot of hard work, especially if you want to scale it like aggressively. Like obviously it takes a lot of time to put into that. So yeah, definitely the passive. I hate that the most. People are spreading that.
Yeah, that's been going around for a long time. I doubt that's going to die anytime soon,
No.
unfortunately.
I'm trying my best to combat it on my end.
Right. So, and I know that, so what, you've been on Amazon for, you said 6 months to a year, right? I can't remember.
6 months.
Yeah. So not a huge amount of time, but if you could go back to the very beginning and be like, Makayla, this is the piece of wisdom you need to know getting started, what would you tell yourself?
To actually use coupons.
Okay.
It physically pains me to say that because like now I spend like 99% of my purchases are using coupons or they're on sale or whatever. I never pay full price for stuff anymore. But like before that, like now I was paying full price usually like so definitely utilizing coupons or like doing discounts because there's so many different ways you can find coupons and stuff. It's not just like knowing there's like secret sauce. Like people always ask me like, what's the secret sauce to finding coupons and stuff? I'm like, there's no secret sauce. Like you just look for them and then you find them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one of the like very first questions from Instagram is
everyone always asks.
Where do you go find the discounts beyond a normal sale or whatever?
Usually they're at the bottom of the pages. Like if you just scroll down through the websites and stuff, like you'll find them at the bottom. And like obviously signing up for email subscription list, like sign up for everyone that you can think of, like create another email, like just for your, Amazon stuff. And that you could literally just spam a bunch of just subscriptions for. And then obviously just manually searching, like you'd be surprised how many you can find, like just searching in, like just for example, like, I don't know, like Nike coupons, like just searching into Google itself and like looking on like Retail Me Not, Coupon Cabin, and using like Honey extension. And that sometimes they have, it's annoying, sometimes really annoying, but like sometimes they actually have good coupons on there that I've used. And it's like, man, if I didn't have Honey, then I wouldn't have used that one. So
yeah. So this question is a little self-serving, but do you use salesgazer.com at all?
No, I don't know what that is.
Okay. All right. So we created
I feel bad.
We created a kind of no, don't worry about it. No. Tons of people don't know about this. So we created kind of a catch-all email that you don't have to go and subscribe. You can go create a salesgazer.com account and then you just pick the stores you want to get emails from. You log into SalesGazer and then it's got all the emails from, Nike and Macy's and like 1,000 stores in there. So if you're listening and you have not created an account at salesgazer.com, go do that. There will be a link in the show notes to make it nice and easy for you.
No, I didn't know that even existed, man. The more you know.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Let's transition to some questions from Instagram. So Chris, what's the first one?
Let's see. Well, we covered the first one was finding discounts, which you covered. But here's another very popular question. What tips would you give to a beginner seller?
So I actually kind of did my last post about beginners and kind of starting on Amazon. And it's honestly just keep practicing sourcing. Like obviously none of us started like with this wizard wizardry of being master at sourcing. It's just kind of the same principle. Like LeBron James didn't just get good at basketball because he woke up one day and was like, "Hey, mom, I'm playing basketball." Like he practiced, like he he put a lot of effort and time and work into his basketball career. So it's the same thing with sourcing. Like you can't just wake up one day and be like, "Yep, I'm a master sourcer." So like putting the time and the effort into it and setting aside, I think it's important to kind of like, especially for the people who have like 9 to 5 or like, obligations outside of Amazon, to kind of keep a schedule and be like, okay, so like every day I'm going to source for at least an hour or 2 hours, or like every other day I'm going to source for at least, X amount of time, and kind of keeping to that, because none of us like are like always eager to like source. Like I don't wake up every morning and like, I'm just so happy to source today. You know what I mean? Like there's some days that you just hate doing it. You just don't want to do it, but that's the only way you kind of get good at it. And definitely recommend just keep doing it. Keep doing it. It's going to suck. Like I hated it at first, but and especially when you don't see the results, you kind of get really discouraged about it. But eventually the hard work will pay off, and you'll be like, man, I'm glad I kept doing it.
I really like that. I think one of the things that a lot of people, I don't know, maybe it's laziness, maybe it's, fear. I don't know what it is, but a lot of people don't practice sourcing unless they're ready to like spend money. And you don't have to spend money to practice sourcing. You could build a list, you could source for someone else. I mean, there's so many different things that you could do to kind of work that muscle and make it stronger over time. So I think that's a really, really great tip. All right. So you seem pretty driven, and I haven't asked your age because, I'm a gentleman, but for a younger person, you do seem a lot more driven than normal. So what made you that way? Is it genetics? Is it your environment? Is it something else? What got you?
So like I told you guys, I was originally going to medical school. Like that's been my dream since I could remember. Like I was 3 years old, 5 years old, and I had like a doctor's kit and everything. So like kind of, I think that honestly has, instilled a lot of dedication and hard work in me. And just like I remember when I, like, this is like a big moment. I remember like being like, okay, like I have to do this. I have to, I have to actually put the effort into it. Like when I started taking my first chemistry class in college, and I had no chemistry experience. Like I was still in high school. I did college credit plus. And so I did, college classes when I was in high school. So I'd never taken a chemistry class in my life. And I did advanced chemistry, somehow miraculously passed the test to get in it. And then I was like, this is horrible. So I remember talking to my professor, and I was like, man, I think I'm going to fail out. I got like an F on the first test, like a 50. And then I was like, man, like I have to really do this. And like from that, like that point, like I was just so driven about, doing well and obviously going to medical school. So I think that background in medicine and medicine is such like a cutthroat world. Like it's a giant rat race. Like if you're not doing this, like I was always doing something like volunteering. I was in clubs. I was the president of clubs. I was, doing other extracurricular activities on top of schooling. So just always having that mindset, like I have to do my best or somebody else is going to basically outbeat me. And then maybe I would never get to go to medical school. So I think that honestly, and then like my parents have always been hardworking people, and they always tell me like, if you want it bad enough, you're going to work for it. So
any plans to go back to school, or you think that you're out of that for now?
So I had every intention of going this year. I had my apartment and everything. I was actually going down to Athens for medical school, and had ankle surgery, and it ended up failing. So I had to have it revised 3 months ago now. So I just couldn't go. I knew I just wasn't going to be able to go. So it all worked out. I don't know. Maybe not. I have no idea. I don't know if I could see myself doing a 9 to 5 after all of this.
Yeah.
It's
You
like,
get working 12 hours a day. It's kind of crazy. Like we enjoy working 12 hours a day so that we don't have to go work a 9 to 5. Yeah, I get it. Oh, we're a weird bunch. I understand.
So you So you mentioned, so we just talked about your drive, and then, earlier you talked about just putting your reps in.
Mhm.
Chris and I, we like to talk about productivity a lot, and getting the most out of it. So my question is, how do you, on the days that you just aren't feeling it, how do you push yourself to kind of fight through it and get the reps in and kind of reignite that drive when it's just not your day?
Thinking about going to a 9 to 5. Because, like, I have a degree in public health and health administration, so, like, if I do wanna go back, I can, like, I can go back to school, or I could, get a job in the field that I want, but, like, after the COVID thing, like, it honestly just killed, the health field. Like, it's just miserable for a lot of people, and, like, actually a lot of people that I've met, students and stuff, like, they're coming from the medical field, and they're like, "Man, this just, like, it's just bad, like, burnout is real." So, like, just thinking that, like, having that in the back of my head, like, "Makayla, if you don't do this, like like, you're gonna have to go work, like, 9 to 5 job, you're gonna hate, like, doing it." So, like, I was like, just keeping that kind of as a motivator.
Okay, that's good. So switching gears to, you do a lot of merchant fulfilled. How do you manage doing the volumes that you do? And do you have any tips on finding maybe inventory that would excel merchant fulfilled?
So despite what people may think, I literally do most of mine FBA. Like, I have people message me and be like, "You should change your name to FBAMakayla." I'm like, honestly, I really don't do that much. It may seem like I do a lot, but like, honestly, like right now, 90-10, 90% FBA right now. But back then, yeah, 75-25. But um so keeping when I'm doing FBM, I always keep FBA in mind first, because like I said, I am FBAMakayla, so I'm doing FBA. So when I sourcing FBA first, then I go through like my criteria, and then obviously if it meets my criteria, then I'm like, okay, how much am I going to buy, whatever, and then I will cycle back through and say, okay, can I double dip this? Can I do FBA and FBM? Like, are we in the season? Is back to school, for example. Like, most of my listings are FBA and FBM. Like, I've sold both. So, and honestly, just kind of depends on the time of year, especially during like Christmas and stuff. Like, if you're not double dipping, like if you're not at least doing some FBM, you're losing out on thousands of dollars of profit.
That's what they tell me.
You don't do any FBM?
I am not an MFer. No,
That's unfortunate. That hurts my heart a little bit.
I know. I'm sorry to disappoint. No, I haven't jumped in that arena yet.
It's a lot. It's a lot of work. Trust me. Like, I have to have my parents help me and stuff. Like, because like the first month I was doing FBM, I was still on crutches. So like I couldn't even.
No. Yeah.
I was rolling around on my knee scooter trying to carry stuff outside.
Oh, geez. Hey, so actually, while we're talking about that, you're gonna ramp up your merchant fulfilling for Q4, right? You mentioned that. Chris and I, we just talked about, we just recorded a Q4 preparedness episode. So what are you stocking up on? What advice would you give for heading into Q4 as far as like supplies and tools of the trade?
Definitely stock up on anything that uses a lot of like tape, boxes. Like, I utilize a lot of USPS shipping, so like I get their free boxes and stuff. So like I'm gonna like send a bunch of those in. Like, my mail lady's gonna be like, "What is she doing?" But I'm gonna do a lot of those. Obviously, tape. Stock up on tape. You don't want to have to be like looking for supplies whenever you're in like the heart of Q4 FBM. So anything that you're going to use that you may think you're going to use, you might as well just buy extra of it. That definitely helps. And obviously, like, products wise, like if you're selling good stuff right now, it's going to do generally well during Q4. So like, just double down on, your regular stuff. Like, I know clothing, apparel, it does well during Christmas because people get them as gifts. You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of how it works. So like doubling down on that. And then I'm going to be obviously doing, like I said, toys. So I'm going to do some toys. I'm not going to do like completely all toys, but like some people like refuse to do toys, but I don't know. I think it's just kind of one other avenue, just kind of like FBM and FBA. Some people don't want to do FBM, but I guess it's just personal choice, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. What book have you read recently that is been really helpful, either in business or personal?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. First
Okay,
finance book
a
I ever read.
classic.
First one, that's the first one I chose to read, and oh my gosh, it has changed like my whole life. Like thinking about like I was pretty good with my money. I mean, like I said, I didn't have a job, so like I lived the poor college student life for like at least 5 years. So like I didn't have fancy anything. Like I wasn't buying Rolexes and you know what I mean. So, but like just reading that book and like just thinking about the concepts and thinking like, wow, like that makes so much sense. You know what I mean? Like, why am I spending money on this when I could be buying this instead? So like the whole asset versus, you know, like appreciating asset, like just changed my whole life. I'm like, man, I don't even want to buy a car right now. Like, why are people buying Lamborghinis? Like, you could go buy a rental property and make money off of it. Like, so yeah, definitely changed my life.
That's great. Now, you said a little bit, now I'm just curious, but you said a little bit earlier that you want to venture out into some other things. What kind of other interests or businesses do you want to get into?
Other than private label, that's my number one right now. I want to build my own brand and hopefully eventually sell it off. Or maybe if I have too much of an emotional attachment to it, I'll keep on growing it. But real estate, I don't know. I've been always flipping or, you know, just doing general like rental properties or maybe owning, you know, like a small business like a car wash or I don't know, whatever other venture that I find.
Yeah,
Something
that's
else.
awesome.
Multiple income
That's awesome.
streams is important.
Did you happen to see the most recent Amazon first private label brand that just sold?
No, I did
So
not.
there's I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but they're a private label brand, and they sell like acne patches or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But
These were
they just sold for 14x EBITDA. So all total, it was a $630 million sale. So and they started on Amazon to test product market fit, and then they moved to retail, and then they moved to direct to consumer. So
of Amazon.
yeah, it was a great sale. Really, and kind of interesting, and good guy to follow on Twitter. He tweets out a bunch of really interesting stuff. So
Yeah, man, yeah, that's legit.
before we wrap it up, where can people find you? What's the best place for people to ask questions or learn about what you do or any of that kind of stuff?
Wherever it is, right here. I always mix it up. FBAMakayla. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Obviously, Instagram's my number one. And then YouTube, I have a few. I'm working on the YouTube thing. It's a lot sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, perfect. Makayla, I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us for a little while and answer some questions. I appreciate it. And that's it. So, guys, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like and the subscribe button and all that usual stuff. We'll make sure to get some clips out for this episode, and we'll be back again next week. All right, that's it. Thanks a lot, guys.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to Clear the Shelf with Chris and Chris. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a screenshot on your phone and share to Facebook, Instagram, or your favorite FBA group, and be sure to tag me and let me know why you liked it and what you'd like to hear more from us in the future. Also, I'd like to give you some free gifts for listening. Head over to rabbittrailchallenge.com and repricerchallenge.com for some free courses to further your business. Thanks for listening.